Why did they pick them? Welcome to Watch Mojo UK, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 totally wrong casting choices in British movies.
And you've no knowledge whatsoever of your potential. Now, get out! No!
Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
For this list, we take a look at casting choices that, for a variety of reasons ranging from accent to actor simply not fitting the role, proved to be a serious disappointment.
Oh, my fond love, thus do I blow to heaven.
Number 10. Keanu Reeves as Don John, Much Ado About Nothing. 1 year after his rather dreadful performance as Jonathan Harker in the otherwise excellent Bram Stoker's Dracula, Keanu Reeves took on another classic British character with equally poor results.
My lord and brother, God save you.
If you thought his London accent was bad, see what happens when Keanu's given a handful of lines from Shakespeare. It's not just the accent though. Reeves' trademark wooden performance also leaves much to be desired.
There is no measure in the occasion that breeds. Therefore the sadness is without limit.
That sort of unaffected acting style has no place in an adaptation of The Bard.
Especially not when sharing the screen with the likes of Kenneth Branagh, who also directed the film.
I thank you. I am not of many words.
Number 9. Charlie Hunnam as Pete, Green Street. If you've seen a few episodes of Sons of Anarchy, you almost naturally expect a California accent to come out of Hunnam's mouth whenever he speaks. Never mind the fact he's from Newcastle.
Yesterday was a good result for us. We had a laugh, we had a few pints, cheered on the mighty Hammers.
But when he attempts Cockney, he gives a few of his American colleagues a run for their money in the sense that it's so all over the place, you wouldn't believe the guy's British.
Serves you right for fighting like a bleeding tart.
Baby-faced Elijah Wood was supposed to be the fish out of water in this movie about hooliganism, but ultimately it was Hunnam's Warrior of the Streets who most often took us out of a scene.
Get some drinks in, get some drinks in, get some drinks in. Up.
Number 8. Josh Hartnett as Brian Allen, Blow Dry. This hairdressing comedy will make you laugh for all the wrong reasons.
He's a bitter old bastard, basically. And he's past it. No, he is. I don't care what folks say.
Josh Hartnett never was particularly good with accents, or depending on who you ask,
Acting, outside of rom-coms.
but make him try to sound like a lad from Yorkshire and you'll see one of the most painfully miscast roles of the 21st century.
Hey, you'll have to do something about that if I'm to work with it tomorrow. Rehydrating conditioner. Or Axe grease.
Don't start, you.
And if you really want to drive the point home, top it all off by having him act together with the legendary Alan Rickman, who most certainly knew a thing or two about British accents. It's chalk and cheese. It really is.
Got bad news for your beard, mate.
Number 7. Sean Connery as Juan Sánchez VillaLobos Ramírez, Highlander. Highlander didn't do well on release, but has since become a cult classic, spawning a plethora of sequels and a TV series.
Why does the sun come up? Or are the stars just pinholes in the curtain of night? Who knows?
For a film that takes much of its lore from the Highlands, it's strange that the one Scottish actor ended up playing a Spanish Egyptian who, unfortunately, looks and sounds more Scottish than anybody else in the film.
You must leave her, brother.
And that's including the leading man Christopher Lambert, whose attempt at actually sounding Scottish never really works. Connery does what he can in the role of Mentor, but his accent swap is a persistent distraction.
You cannot win, Ramírez. I am the strongest.
My cut has improved your voice.
Number 6. Denise Richards as Dr. Christmas Jones, The World Is Not Enough. It's true, the Pierce Brosnan era of 007 is mostly remembered for being bloody awful, but that wasn't entirely the lead actor's fault.
Are you here for a reason? Or are you just hoping for a glimmer?
When it comes to co-stars, however, things begin to get painfully funny, and not in a good way. Picking bombshell Denise Richards to play a nuclear physicist certainly didn't help the credibility of this entry in the Bond series.
Wait a minute. Are you gonna do what I think you're gonna do?
What do I need to defuse a nuclear bomb?
Me.
The World Is Not Enough has its fair share of problems, but Richard's Raspberry Award-worthy performance might just be its greatest. Let's just be thankful they made her character American and didn't add accent into the mix.
What are you doing here in Kazakhstan?
Avoiding those kind of questions, just like you.
Number 5. Pierce Brosnan as Sam Carmichael, Mamma Mia. Enough people loved this film for a sequel to have been made, but that doesn't make Pierce Brosnan singing any better than it is.
Whatever happened to our love? I wish I understood.
And it's really bad, especially when he sings along with Meryl Streep, who clearly has much better control of her voice.
I can't conceal it, don't you see? Can't you feel it?
More comfortable in the clothes of a suave English spy or a shady Prime Minister, Brosnan doesn't seem to have much fun on screen in his turn as a musical star, and we can't really blame him. For those who grew up with him as Bond, though, it certainly can be amusing.
Bugger. My sentiments exactly.
Number 4. Russell Crowe as Robin Longstride, Robin Hood. Apparently, nothing was learned from Kevin Costner's turn as the thief from Sherwood, California, because Ridley Scott picked New Zealander Russell Crowe to play the character in this ugly mess of a Robin Hood movie.
My father abandoned me to the world of men when I was 6 years old. I know little of the love between father and son.
It's not just the weird nondescript accent either. The whole thing is just plain wrong, with high production value not enough to eliminate that feeling of a bad Sunday afternoon movie repeat.
What if the grain were not to reach York? And the bees need not be spoken of.
And Crowe, known for being not an especially relaxed chap, reportedly stormed out of an interview when asked about his accent, which had a notably Irish lilt to it.
I'm not your enemy. If you want to chat, you know where to find me.
Number 3. Laurence Olivier as Othello. Othello. In some respects, the performance itself isn't at fault. It's Olivier we're talking about after all, one of the UK's finest ever Shakespearean actors.
Let him do his spite. My services which I have done the Signory shall out-tongue his complaints.
But the ridiculous use of blackface to transform the actor into the titular character is inexcusable and horribly distracting, even for a film made in 1965.
She wished she had not heard it, yet she wished heaven had made her such a man.
British reviewers of the time didn't seem bothered by it, but the New York Times wasn't impressed, as nobody today would be. Colour and race haven't mattered for decades in Shakespeare productions, which makes this even more offensive.
To have so much to do to bring him in by Our Lady, I could do much.
Oh, prithee no more. Let him come when he will, I will deny thee nothing.
Number 2. George Lazenby as James Bond, on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Often considered one of the best stories in the James Bond canon, the film is sadly let down by the uninspired performance of Australian George Lazenby as the most famous British spy in the world.
This never happened to the other fella.
Don't get us wrong, it's not that he hasn't given it his all, it's just that he has the charisma of a wooden board come unstuck.
Genealogy is all about ancestors and families. I mean, it could easily be that any one of you here is related to a royal house.
And right after Sean Connery, to many, the greatest Bond that ever was, that's a pretty big problem.
Let's get out of here.
He may even be worse than David Niven in the Casino Royale spoof.
Good night, ladies.
Number 1. Colin Farrell as Alexander. Alexander. Oliver Stone's take on the life of one of history's most important figures didn't quite work out as planned.
I will avenge you and follow you down to the house of death.
Though a huge co-production involving the UK as well as other European countries and the US,
and based on a book by Oxford historian Robin Lane Fox,
the film spectacularly bombed in theatres and was panned by critics.
What can they think or sing or write when none can read? But as Alexander's army, they can go where they never thought possible.
Casting choices were not the only thing to blame, but Farrell's performance as Alexander the Great lacked the presence and charisma required when playing such a formidable character. And seriously, what's with the hair?
And the memory's stale, and all your great victories fade.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo UK and subscribe for more great content.